Hi folks, it's Steve here from Analytics in Action. What I want to do today is give you a overview of subqueries in Microsoft SQL Server. So I'll talk about what are subqueries, the two main types or two categories of subqueries, so self-contained and correlated. Also talk about how subqueries can accept single values, also known as scalar subqueries, or they can be accept multi-valued inputs. Also talk about the exist clause in subqueries. With this tutorial, I also provide sample files on my website, so I'll show you how to download those and follow along with this tutorial, and I'll do a live demonstration of the main types of subqueries. So first of all, let's jump across to my website and grab the sample file. So if you go to analyticsinaction.com/subqueries/ navigate down to the bottom and click on the download database used in tutorial. So this will download a .back file, which is a backed up database. Just click on download there. So this is a fairly small file. I think it's about 2.3 megabytes. I've actually downloaded it there before, so let's jump. Show all downloads. Just click show in folder. Here we go. Copy. Now what we'll do is jump across to SQL Server Management Studio and then click on databases, right click, restore database, click on device, and then we'll navigate to your backup folder within SQL Server. So click add, and you should get a directory, something like this. My backup files are in program files, SQL Server, that, backup. So let's just click on subqueries.back, click OK, and the database will now be restored. Okay, that looks good. So let's just jump across, so just we'll see that it's there. There we go. So we'll also go across to my website and get the code, the actual Transact SQL code used in this tutorial. So click on that, and we just copy that code. So we'll click on new query, paste. You see it's jumped across to the subquery database there, but if it hasn't for you, just click on subqueries. Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about self-contained scalar subqueries. So first of all, the structure of subqueries, they consist of an outer query here and an inner query or a subquery. So in this case, the subquery is returning the max employee ID from the salesperson database. And the nice thing about subqueries is that you can run them, the inner and outer query, independently. So if we click on that, execute, we see that the maximum employee ID is 24. If we click on the inner query there, sorry, the outer query, execute that, we see all of the fields from the sales table, and then if we highlight both, the two will run together. So this is essentially returning the maximum employee ID from the sales table. And the reason this is called a self-contained subquery is because there's no linkage between the inner and outer query. All it's doing is the inner query is just providing a value to the outer query. So subqueries can be used in a couple of different places within a query. So you can use them in the where clause there, or you can also use these subqueries in the select statement here. So in this case, we're returning the sum price from the sales table. Let's just run that to demonstrate it. So this is just the total sales across all of the salespeople. And that's sort of useful in a way, but what's really useful is if we then flesh this out and used a couple of subqueries, or these inner queries, depending on how you want to term it. I think technically it's actually this component here is the subquery, and that's the outer query. So we've got this subquery here that we've created before, and then we've got the second one here, and this second one is a correlated subquery. And the reason it's a correlated subquery is because there's a linkage defined in it. So this is linking employee ID from the salesperson table to employee ID in the sales table. So when we run this, you actually see what it's doing. So we've got the original query there, which is the total of sales across all the salespeople, and then this one is now returning this the sales for each salesperson. So it's like a subtotal. So that's the benefit of what a correlated subquery can do. It's going to provide that linkage between the the outer query and the subquery. So those are really handy. We've also got multi-valued subqueries. So what these do is, let's just run it. So we'll select the subquery there, execute. This is returning all of the employee IDs where their price of the products I've sold is greater than $2,000. And if we run these together, it'll then feed those employee IDs into the outer subquery. So the thing with these multi-valued queries is the syntax that are used. You can see that an in statement is used here, because if we had used the same equals as we did for the scalar subquery, because they're multi-values returning, we'll get an error. So you just have to remember to use the right syntax when you want to select multiple values. Now, okay, so the what's also used in subqueries quite a bit is the exist syntax. So what the exist syntax does is it basically returns a binary true or false. So what we've got here is a query that is returning, okay, the first name, last name, employee ID, and sales from the salesperson table where the first name is Gail. So that's it. And then what it's doing is it's adding a AND statement and saying, okay, and is there any linkage between the sales table and salesperson table based on the employee ID? And what this does, this is returning a yes or a positive. So that's saying what this query will do is it'll return all the information requested here, first name named Gail, and because it's returning a positive, a true for the exist statement, the query will run. So if that was, for example, and not exist, I think that'd be returning a negative, so nothing would be returned in that case. So these exist statements can be handy and vary with performance in some cases when you're returning lots of values. So why would you want to use subqueries? Well, subqueries, the main thing for me is they're easy to understand. You know, I don't write code from 9 to 5 each day. I might be writing a little bit of code one week, then I won't be doing anything the next week, then I'll be working on some other project, then I'll come back to it. So I like code that's really simple, and subqueries are pretty simple to understand. Interestingly, when SQL Server runs subqueries, quite often it'll actually rewrite it as a join statement. And a lot of people who are really sort of advanced Transact SQL users will actually, rather than writing subqueries, they'll actually write join statements instead, which will achieve the same end result. So that's probably really what I wanted to cover off today. The final thing is, if you found this useful, you might want to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way every time I update my produce another video or tutorial, you'll get an alert. And the other thing is to just come across and visit my website. There's stacks and stacks of information on SQL Server and analytics in general, so things like integration services, data integration, reporting services, analysis services, data mining, predictive models, clustering, decision trees. There's also I'm covering off a few other tools as well, so tools like TIBCO Spotfire. So yeah, lots and lots of information. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and hope you'll come back and watch some more videos.